Shadow the Hedgehog. The most 2000s thing I can think of, aside from Heelys in Blockbuster. The case is something literally out of a Michael Bay film, but that's not what I want to talk about today. What I've decided to do is create a level select screen for Shadow the Hedgehog. My goal was to include as many levels as possible, obviously revising the story, to see what I would have come up with. It is in retrospect, to be fair, but I guess that's the point. I want to see what I could have come up with, or what they could do if they wanted to redo Shadow's story. So before we get into the good stuff, I want to talk about the controls. So what I would want is to take Sonic Adventure 2 gameplay with new camera controls and a couple of new attacks. For example, when mid-air, he should have a square attack to do stomping. I like the idea that Sonic bounces and Shadow stomps. The triangle button would do the light speed dash because, let's face it, the light speed dash is way more dangerous than any enemy will ever be. Circle would be the roll, so that the spin dash can be broken like in SA1, because that's just fun. X would just be the standard homing attack and jump. I would want R1 to be a new ability, Chaos Spear, because I think it's a really good replacement for guns if you're gonna take out guns at all. I think I would. So, you could have different modes, so he could have like a standard, a rapid fire, and a missile launcher version, so that you can cover all the bases that exist in the actual game today. And then L1 could act as a shield that slows your momentum to a stop. That could be like a break, even though with adventure gameplay you don't need a break, but some people might use it. But also to shield yourself up, obviously. And then there's of course camera controls. R2 and L2, I would like to rotate it like in Adventure 1. And then obviously the R3 stick for just looking around normally. There'd also be a Chaos Gauge, similar to Sonic 06. Or maybe even a boost gauge, I don't know. Something like that. A couple of other ways they could switch his Chaos Spear type would be an arrow pad, or maybe level ups similar to Heroes. One last thing for the controls, I would love for them to keep the triangle jump. The one in Shadow the Hedgehog is actually pretty good, in my opinion at least. I think it's a no-brainer. It feels kind of like an addition, like the rail grinding to me. Looking at the level select screen, you will see 3 rows, the middle one being the main levels of the game. And all of those would be structured to have a Chaos Emerald, a character mission, and a goal ring. The character mission is always optional, same with the Emerald, but the Emeralds are required to get the final story. The Emerald levels are on top, and would be much more linear, like Adventure 2, to tell a story throughout it. And then the character missions, or the character levels, would be on the bottom, and are designed to help solidify what Shadow's opinion of all the characters are. The level structure would accommodate a Chaos Emerald in 7 of the levels that take you to new levels and act as a goal ring. So when you collect an emerald, it finishes the level. To get to the final story, you need all 7, but the stage select makes it very clear what stages you need to search to get the emeralds. The character levels would be different in that you complete an objective in the main level to unlock them, and every stage has one, but they're fully optional. They don't really have anything to do with completing the game unless you're a completionist. I will also say the idea that I would have is to make them more open, a little more open than Adventure 1, and hide collectibles in them. So that includes things like music CDs, maybe red rings, art illustrations, and whatever else. Now, One controversial thing I want to keep is vehicles. I think that vehicles could be super fun so long as their gameplay is fun. And I think I would relegate them to crossing paths that Shadow wouldn't normally be able to. Like they could drive over hazards of whatever kind. One last thing I just want to emphasize is completing level objectives. I would make it so that you have to consciously make the choice to complete them, but they're not ridiculous like they are in the main game. One last thing I want to add about the character levels is that completing the mission in the main level doesn't end that level. It just makes it so that whatever level you end up completing, you do the character mission afterwards. So if you get an emerald, you complete the character mission after the emerald level. And if you just go to the goal ring, then you get the character mission right after the level you just did. So with Westopolis, the beginning would be pretty similar, with Shadow trying to search for an emerald, meeting Sonic and Black Doom, and then you find whatever character objective that you feel like doing. The emerald brings you to Larceny Lane and the heavy dog fight, and then completing the side objective gets you Lethal Highway with the Black Bull fight. So, Larceny Lane does not sound familiar at all. I just made up the name. And it would follow the beginning of Sonic Adventure 2, where Shadow is robbing a bank. You start with fighting the heavy dog in the vault, and then start the actual level in the bank breakout. Have like a majority level similar to Mission Street's beginning, and then end on the bridge. Story-wise, getting this information means that he knows that he had a grudge on the humans, so it might influence him to think that he should help Black Doom. So Lethal Highway would be the first character level, and it would establish Shadow's rivalry with Sonic, expanding on what we get in Heroes. The character levels would have a lot of collectibles, and would only go to a goal ring. There would be no unusual objectives for them. At the end, you would end up fighting Black Bull, which wouldn't be Doom's Eye transformed, it would just be its own thing this time around. Essentially, they would come across Black Bull just destroying everything in sight through the streets, and then Sonic and Shadow would help each other to fight it. For Glyphic Canyon, I'm thinking as the second level, it would focus on establishing the Doom's arms. That's just my renaming of the Black Arms. Knuckles would be exploring the ruins because the Master Emerald showed him a vision of that place, so he's trying to get information there. And if you choose to do his mission, you will search for 5 murals that Knuckles reads, explaining any lore that the Doom's Arms would have. If you find the Emerald in this level, Shadow would go to Crystal Ruins, which would be within the past of Angel Island. He would spot expedition gear and decide to follow it. I like the idea that there's several paths that always converge on various rooms, and over time it would become obvious that it's Professor Gerald's expedition team. He clearly explored the ruins at some point, and it becomes his inspiration for creating Shadow, so I think it would fit narrative-wise. The ending of the level would be the mural room in Sonic 3, where Gerald discovers his inspiration through Sonic fighting Eggman. The last important thing to notice is Chaos. What would Chaos be doing here? You could just leave him locked up, but I think he would be a fun boss fight. Maybe he could have 5 emeralds, since at this point you would have 2 of them. And I just think having all 7 emeralds exist there would be interesting. Just to make things less confusing, I think Shadow would fight Chaos within a paused time space, so that Gerald never sees Shadow or Chaos. Also, it would be Chaos 5, because I think it would be interesting to bring a new form of chaos into this game. Mural Cove would be Knuckles' character mission, where Shadow learns about Knuckles' past and why he's able to read all manner of ancient texts. He learns of the Master Emerald's connection to the Chaos Emeralds, and some of Adventure 1's chaos lore. At the end of Glyphic Canyon, Rouge would come to Knuckles, perhaps she's gathering all of the Sonic characters to help protect the world on Gun's behalf. And then she would meet with Shadow and decide to bring him to Prison Island to help collect his memories. I imagine there being a Chaos Emerald there. On Prison Island, it would be a Shadow and Rouge level, where doing the mission would give you Rouge's character mission. And finding the emerald would get you Iron Jungle. It would remind Shadow that he rescued Rouge in the past if the beginning of Heroes didn't already do that. The emerald level would be Iron Jungle, repurposed to be a memory of Shadow rescuing Rouge from the gun base. It would basically be a cross between White Jungle from Adventure 2 and Iron Jungle. Well, it would take Iron Jungle's level design and turn it into the second half of Shadow rescuing you. I called the character mission Steel Hangar, and it would be representative of a destroyed metal harbor. It would establish his bond with Rouge as one of his few friends that he admit are friends. Essentially, one of the only people in his close friend group. And that wraps up the Act 1 of the game, which would function in part to establish characters, in part to establish the story, and just to overall be an introduction. Act 2 would have Shadow and Rouge searching for Eggman, because Rouge believes that the Eggman would have more information on whether Shadow's the real one, whatever answers Eggman might have. To start off the searching, Shadow and Rouge would go to Circus Park. So they begin to search the wacky theme park, and Tails flies overhead and spots them below. He tags along, thinking that it'll be like adventuring with Sonic or something. And Rouge would act as a sort of mediary between the two, because obviously Shadow and Tails probably wouldn't get along that well. Tails' goal is to dismantle the amusement park, and to get his character mission, it would be however many rings. Less than the game has, but still probably a decent amount. And what better than Egg Dealer to be guarding this base? I feel like they work so well together, but they aren't connected at all, I don't believe. They should have been, if they aren't. Getting the Emerald of Circus Park brings Shadow to Lost Impact, where he learns about Maria. This level acts as a sort of level version of Meteor Herd mixed with Cosmic Wall. Obviously, it would resemble itself from the main game as well. I would emphasize the ending area that resembles Meteor Herd with all the meteors and stuff, and have less of the indoor sections, in part to shorten the level, but also to make it less flat. The story of the level wouldn't change all that much at all. You wouldn't have any particular objective other than get Maria to safety, which is the goal ring. But I think she would ask you to just help people, but it would never be required. So in short, there is no requirement to defeat them all, you're welcome. Now I like the idea that I have for a character level. So every Eggman base is incomplete without a computer. And Tails would help Shadow locate other Eggman bases by hacking the mainframe. So this is just Digital Circuit, the level you all know and love. It would be redesigned. So Tails is guiding Shadow through the level. Maybe Shadow even finds some sort of appreciation for how useful Tails can be. I don't think they'd end up friends at the end, but they would still establish some sort of working relationship, I suppose. It would probably be the most negative relationship thus far, though. I do think that this would be an interesting part to start adding shadow androids that are a key point in Shadow and questioning who he is. It also establishes that Eggman needs to be found, and maybe the shadow androids would start appearing in more places throughout the game. I think the main point here is, though this is the first time they'd be introduced, they would be introduced in the next level anyway, so it's not necessary to do this level for Shadow to get that question. He would end up with that question anyway. So after Digital Circuit, or Circus Park, or whatever level you ended up doing, you end up going to Eggman's next base, Cryptic Castle, which would expand on the subplot searching for Eggman's bases, and have Shadow and Rouge meet up with Amy, who is searching for Cream, because Amy shows up in the weirdest places. This would play out similarly to the level in the actual game, until you get to a split path. One is a secret path that's revealed by Amy, the other, Rouge knows the way to Eggman's computer room in this base. So you choose who to follow. If you go with Amy, you eventually get led to a Chow Garden that has an emerald, but you're supposed to ignore the emerald at that moment to go and find Cream and then come back for the emerald, since the character mission doesn't complete the level but the emerald does. The level would be very much about choice, and if you go the goal ring route, Amy will suggest splitting up and find the secret path, where she will wait for Shadow if he decides to go back, and then vice versa for Rouge finding the computer room. I also want to make clear that Doom Arms are in all of the bases that Eggman, like, they're invading as you go search through the bases. This essentially shows that Eggman's army is seen as a major threat to Black Doom. If you collect the emerald, you will experience a version of Lost World, the level, not the game, thank God, where he will learn about the Echidna tribe and their struggle for power. At the end of the level, we'll have Shadow witness a backflash where Tikal is run through by her tribe and chaos destroys them all. This would act as a warning to Shadow not to abuse his power, and would fixate his alignment against the Doom's arms if it's combined with Lost Impact. The character level would act for both Cream and Amy. After rescuing them in Chocola, they help Shadow find Eggman's computer room. Throughout the level, Amy and Cream make Shadow seem like a third wheel, where he doesn't talk to them unless addressed. At the end of the level, they get to the computer room and find Team Chaotix trying to break into the computer while Rouge tries to stop them from breaking anything. Shadow does the thing he does with the karate chop to the computer and finds himself in Mad Matrix. Since Mad Matrix is in the cyber world, this is the first main level, like the first story level, to not have a Chaos Emerald attached to it. And throughout the level, the Chaotix would give Shadow really wacky, I mean crazy missions to do. Maybe like Sonic Heroes' missions for Chaotix, but less bad. And throughout the stage, you'd get goofy dialogue between the three of the Chaotix, regardless of whether you do their missions or not. And at the end of the level, there's a boss fight where Shadow must face down Eggman's firewall, the Eggbreaker. So the Eggbreaker would act as a sort of digital firewall, like a guardian. The character mission would be that doing all of the Chaotix's crazy missions. So it would teleport you to the wrong place. I'm calling the level Metropolis Arsenal. It would take place in Grand Metropolis, which is where I would imagine in Heroes is where Shadow is kept and the place that got destroyed. I'm just making the connection of it being Grand Metropolis. I don't know if that's true. I'm just going to assume it is for now. And the level would basically be about the Chaotix trying to fix the problem they caused. In the end, I think Shadow would be the one correcting the mistake, though. In completing this mission, or just ignoring the Chaotix instructions in the last mission, would bring you to Lava Shelter, the final level in the second act. So, finally, Shadow finds himself at Eggman's current base of operations, and quickly finds out that Omega is already there and is destroying everything he can. This means Team Dark is finally reformed. So, you get Rouge in Act 1, you get Omega in Act 2, and then throughout Act 3 you have all three of them incorporated to some extent. Eggman has a secret vault somewhere in the level that holds a Chaos Emerald, probably over a lava pit of some sort, and have massive defenses that you have to get through. Omega's objective is obviously destroy X amount of robots, similar to the first mission's character objective. And at the end of the level, Shadow meets with Eggman and tries to get answers out of him. Eggman says that he will only answer them if Shadow helps him attack the Doom Arms fleet. Now, getting the Chaos Emerald unlocks the level Biotic Core, where it's a flashback to the end of Adventure 2 and kind of functions as Shadow's level that he does instead of Canon's core. It would establish in Shadow's mind that he already saved the world once, and that he's going to decide to do it again. If you do the character mission, instead of getting an Omega character mission, this time you get an Eggman character level. Yes, he gets one too. Eggman's fleet is moving to attack the Doom's Arm at Sky Troops, and Shadow decides to be the vanguard, because he wants to finish things quickly and get the answers from Eggman. Throughout the level, Shadow and Eggman would talk, Shadow asking questions, Eggman trying to give vague answers. And the level would essentially be Shadow going from the back of Eggman's fleet, running to the front of it, and ending at Sky Troops. Sky Troops would act as the beginning of Part 3 and this climactic moment that's essentially Eggman's fleet clashing with the Doom Arms fleet. At this point, Black Doom gives Shadow one last chance to side with him, and asks for the emeralds he's collected so far. Shadow refuses and pushes through Sky Troops. He can either go for the goal ring, which is him destroying the flagship, or he can do the character objective of destroying each major ship for Eggman. He's destroying the place along with Team Dark. Cloud Train would be the character mission. This would be the second time that there isn't an emerald level. So he's trying to return to Eggman to get definitive answers, and as it sounds, there would be a train through the sky that would lead to Eggman. It functions as Team Dark's character mission, so kind of like an Omega combined with Rouge, but more focused on being like Omega's character mission, I suppose. By the end of the level, Eggman would give the confession that he would usually give at the end of the final boss that is as hidden as possible, because they did not want you to have any answers. So Shadow's not an android, and before he tries to fight Shadow one last time, one of Shadow's mysteries is solved, so he can now focus on his past and get connections to the Doom's Arm. And whatever his connections to Doom's Arms, he can try to figure out. And what I mean by try to fight one last time, I mean Eggman tries to fight Shadow before giving him the answers. In the form of a boss I'm just calling it Egg Eagle. It would probably be reminiscent of the boss in 06 that Sonic fights, the Egg Wyvern. Probably try to make it a bit different, but it probably would end up turning pretty similar. Now on to some of my more favorite levels in Shadow the Hedgehog, Air Fleet. In this case, the humans have taken their people to the sky to try and push the Doom's Arms away from their cities. The president and commander of Gun are aboard the air fleet, and Black Doom sends his armies to hunt him down. The idea of eliminating the head of the military, and it's part of the humans' plans to entice the Doom's Arms into the skies. Team Dark has been tasked with guarding the ship they are in, but Shadow learns that the final emerald is somewhere aboard the fleet. Throughout the level, Shadow gets options to slow down the gunship by closing doors. If you close them all, the commander will take it as Shadow siding with the Doom Arms, and will unlock the character level. But most importantly, the level locks off either the goal ring or the emerald, depending on if you went for the character mission. If you get the character mission, then the only way forward, it sends you to the emerald, while if you didn't do the mission, you continue following the ship to the goal ring. The reason that it's important to do it this way is that the next level I'm just calling the Escape. It would be kind of a stand-in for one of the other arc levels, particularly the Doom. It would obviously have a very different level design. It'd be mostly indoors, maybe have some sort of ideas from Eternal Engine or something. Overall, it would be a different level design. He reveals to Shadow why he hated humans so much, but also tells him Maria's last wish to protect the humans so they can be happy. So essentially it leads to the scene where Maria is executed, probably done a little differently, but you get the point of like what time period it is though. Throughout the level, you are given opportunities to hide from gun agent robots. I'd probably use robots instead of actual agents. They would have spotlights and lasers to avoid. You could just destroy them on the way out, or just speedrun past them. There would be a bunch of different ways to complete the level ideally. And the end of the level, you reach a room that is guarded by Blue Falcon. So the Blue Falcon fight would be right after this. And then, after you beat the Blue Falcon, you run into a hallway and then the famous scene of Shadow getting pushed out through the escape pod happens. So the next character mission is Gun Base. It would act as a character mission for Shadow and Gun, ideally to show that they don't need to fight any opponent. Shadow's trying to explain what happened to Maria to the commander, and the commander thinks that Shadow killed her or something, because I think that's how it is in the actual game. So Shadow has to fight through Gun's security until he ends up in the boss fight against Diablo. After the fight, the commander accepts his defeat and tells Shadow to land the final blow, but Shadow refuses and leaves, to show like some sort of sign of good faith, I suppose. After this level, you would end up going up into space to the space colony. You would end up with Cosmic Fall, so Team Dark goes with Team Sonic to the space colony, where they reveal the humans' grand plan to destroy the Doom Comet. They're the last team to reach the Ark, so everyone who's appeared in the game, everyone who's part of a team, would appear here. Maybe big, maybe not. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of funny though. I think if they do big, it should be a small cameo. He's just there because Amy asked him to be, let's be honest. Now that all the teams from Sonic Heroes are united to fight against the Doom Arms in the climactic battle to control the Ark, Vector would direct a plan to find the computer room, when Knuckles corrects him that they need to get to the Master Emerald Shrine, because while they could use the Chaos Emeralds to power the Ark, they're going to need Super Shadow and Super Sonic to make sure the comet doesn't smash into Earth. Or whatever they call the planet. I'm just going to use Earth. The Master Emerald in this way would become the source of power to activate the laser, so that Sonic and Shadow can go super and fight the Doom Arms and finish them for good. Sonic and Shadow would enter the level, going back to the actual level that's happening. So Sonic and Shadow enter Cosmic Fall, and get the option to actually find the computer room Vector is so concerned about, but the only actual completion to the level is the shrine as the goal ring. Doom's Eye is found guarding the shrine, and a boss fight ensues, where this version of Doom's Eye is his own thing. It's not Black Bull. It would act as a sort of semi-final boss almost. And while Doom's Eye is pretty small, I think it would be kind of interesting to have more small boss fights as well. Maybe with big attacks though. Now, Space Gadget's an interesting one, in that it's kind of a combination of Final Rush and Crazy Gadget, and would solidify that Sonic and Shadow's rival is sort of friendly, at least. They at least respect each other. While they aren't necessarily friends, they have the respect that they had at the end of SA2. Of course, Shadow doesn't want to kill Sonic this time. This level, like in the original game, is a race between the two, though ideally the level design would be a bit better. So this is a character mission that you get for completing, or for finding the computer room. Now, the final level of our Act 3 is the Black Comet, where Sonic and Shadow go to the comet itself to see if they can finish things before the comet even gets into Earth's atmosphere. It functions as the final level before the final story and ends with the Black Doom boss fight. In this version, Black Doom would have no alternative form, but would actually be defeated before the final story. And I just want to note that I would like the Doom arms to have a lot of ghost-like attributes, particularly Black Doom. So it'd be more incorporated into his design. He'd look a little more like a Sonic character that has ghostly attributes. It could be an idea that attacks don't target him, aside from Chaos Spears, but if you aim well, you can still hit him with a homing attack. So it's basically, you just lose your target reticle. It requires more accuracy and skill to hurt him without Chaos Spear. He'd never be close enough to the ground for a spin dash, but those probably wouldn't target him. But those don't target enemies anyway. So aerial combat is required to fight him. After Black Doom is defeated, it is somehow revealed that Shadow is not one of the Doom's arms, but more so that they saw his power and wanted it for themselves. So the Black arms wanted, or the Doom arms, wanted Shadow's powers and fabricated a lie to get him to serve them. So now we've made it all the way to the final story. More specifically, the final haunt. I love the name, especially if you combine it with the ghostly elements of the Doom's arms in this version, but also Black Doom is very ghost-like anyway, so it still fits. So the way it would work is Shadow's trying to stop the comet from the inside while Sonic goes super and attacks it from the outside. This would be the only level where the character mission is required since there is no goal ring, but the mission wouldn't be something too crazy. Basically, it would amount to Shadow attacking positions in the structure, the comet, where the comet is weakened by Sonic's attacks from the outside. Think of it like Sonic hits the outside, this big purple glowing thing appears, and then Shadow has to hit that as he makes his way through the level. During this time, Eggman would arrive at the Ark and join in on the plan. He would help with communication and gives Shadow most of his instructions during the final boss. And the final boss. I know that I said Black Doom doesn't get another form, and that would be true. I love the idea of replacing the Black Doom fight with fighting the comet itself. So I'm calling it Doom Comet. It would act as the final boss of the game. Sonic exhausted his power, he lost all his rings, and Shadow basically takes over. So he needs to deliver the final blows to the comet. Super Shadow would be tasked with hitting all of the weak points he and Sonic made, so the Doom arms can't control the comet, so they can't accelerate it and whatever else they can do. If they can control it, they can make it crash into the Earth faster than the Ark needs to charge the laser. That's what the Ark would be doing during this time, is charging, while all of Sonic friends protect it from Doom arms trying to invade. The end would largely be the same in terms of using Chaos Control to teleport the comet into place for the Ark to blow it up. And basically the idea is to establish that Shadow has a place in the world of Sonic, and that he's alive again, and he doesn't have anything weighing him down from the past. The idea would be to wrap up all these questions and all these reasons that he wouldn't work with anyone, to wrap those up and make it plausible that Shadow might work for Gun, or that he would help people in need. And ideally, in future games, he would help. Maybe he would visit the Ark every now and then, not be around, but generally he would help. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any better ideas, leave them in the comments below. I would love to have a conversation about this. I've had these things in my mind for a while, long enough to actually make this video. Like and subscribe and all that, and thank you for any support. See you in the next video.